So by the 1920s, already had this reputation as a place where you could be yourself, and that energy was carried through to today. It just looks different now. So instead of avant-garde painters, you've got drag performers, DJs, and queer artists still shaping the culture.
When people talk about Provincetown being a party destination, which of course it absolutely is, it's important to remember that it's built on this foundation of queer creativity and acceptance.
Did you get your party on when you were there?
I did, yeah. I was there for 3 nights. I went with a friend. I think you actually weren't able to come, so a friend Kyle went with me, and yeah, we definitely went out every night.
You're listening to Queer Travel Chat by Two Bad Tourists.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Queer Travel Chat. I'm your host, co-host of course, Austin, here with David. We are we're both halves of the blogger duo, Two Bad Tourists.
I am a whole person, first
and
of all.
Here we are doing
blending into the background of your podcast studio. If you're watching on video, we both wore gray on a gray background.
We didn't coordinate, did we?
We looked like we were like on a gray screen instead of a green screen.
Oops, well,
this is terrible.
Yeah, here we are, of course, in Madrid in our podcast studio. And
we should have gone with the shirtless look like the last episode. Well, so what have we been up to since we last recorded? We actually went on a little mini trip outside of Madrid. 2 popular day trips are Toledo and Segovia.
And we also did Avila.
And we did Avila, so 3, yeah.
And actually a 4th, we did the windmills of Consuegra.
Oh my gosh, we did so much. I
4
totally forgot about the windmills.
In 2 days.
Yeah, so we went with Devour, who I work as a tour guide for, and they're launching a new overnight trip in Toledo. And you leave from Madrid and you go to see the windmills that are referenced in the book Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. So very famous, very cool. I had never seen them. You had saw them.
I had seen them, but I didn't have a tour and all those things.
So that was cool. We got to go inside one. And then we went to do a winery visit.
That was, I think, my favorite part.
Well, obviously. I mean,
really good wine.
Drunk
really
at lunch.
Yeah.
That was really great wine. I already drank all the bottles that I bought.
Oh, I still have mine.
Okay, so
I'm gonna open mine that I bought at the lunch we had in Segovia.
That was, then we went to Toledo when we had a guided tour of the city, which is the former capital, which was great. Then we went to Segovia the next morning after night in Toledo, and we went to a restaurant there where they produce their own wines, and you can only buy the wine at that restaurant.
So we bought 3 bottles, we carried those 3 bottles around on an hour-and-a-half walking tour.
Which we got a special deal on because it was 1 for $22 or 3 for $66.
Yes,
and we were like, sold. How could you beat that deal? Which is really great wine. So you can get that if you do the Devour tour. At that lunch, we had cochinillo, which is the suckling pig.
Which is typical from that
region. They have it at Botín at the restaurant here in Madrid that's quite famous, but it's typically from Segovia. And I had no idea that you can break open the skull of the suckling pig and eat the brains, which one of my colleagues did, who's a guide. And
he was so kind because he offered that we could all split it. And I was like, excuse me?
Okay.
I'm going to eat a brain?
I mean, it was there. I had never eaten it. I want to say that I ate it, so I tried it. It was horrific. I highly don't recommend it. The texture was just like, I don't even know, just like eating goop because it wasn't like firm.
Well, let's end this on a high note.
The suckling pig is good.
If you want to visit any of these cities, you can do it on our Madrid gay group trip, which is actually in September from the 13th. Actually, no, the 17th through the 23rd of this year, 2026.
Yeah, we will go to Toledo and Segovia on 2 separate day trips, or you can keep an eye out for the Devour overnight tour in Toledo as well. That should be launching in, I think, this fall.
September.
Yeah, September.
So. But of course, that's not what today's episode is all about. Today's episode, if you've seen the title, is all about PTown. So we're going to discuss all things that makes Provincetown America's queer summer capital. And I'll also say that this episode is sponsored by the Provincetown Office of Tourism. So thank you guys so much for your support.
So as always, before we get into it, let's go with some fun facts. So let's set the scene with some interesting things I've learned from my research. So because this place has way more history and depth than people expect. So for starters, it sits at the very tip of Cape Cod within the protected Cape Cod National Seashore, which means you've got miles of preserved coastline, sand dunes, and beaches that are considered some of the most beautiful in the United States.
Well, and we didn't mention it earlier, but while David did the research research on the fun facts, I have actually been to Provincetown myself a few years back.
Oh yeah, we should have mentioned that.
Yeah, so some of these things I've experienced and I can kind of enhance.
I've learned everything by researching it.
Yes.
But I want to go. But yeah, when did you go? We didn't say that.
I want to say it was 2016 or 2017.
Yeah,
So it's
so-
been a while, but great.
I mean,
great
what I've
experience.
gathered is this is essentially PTown is like the Sitges or Torremolinos
Exactly,
of the US.
or like Key West, like the
Yeah,
little
it's
gay
got very
enclave,
similar,
and we'll talk more
histories.
about that. So, and it's not just hype. Provincetown was actually named one of America's best beach towns by Travel and Leisure, and that recognition wasn't just about the beaches. It also highlighted the town's food scene, its nightlife, and especially its long-standing reputation as a hub for arts and culture.
And the history here goes way back. Provincetown is actually where the Mayflower first landed in November 1620. The Pilgrims spent about 5 weeks exploring the area, and while anchored in Provincetown Harbor, they even signed the Mayflower Compact before eventually crossing the bay to settle in Plymouth. Should I know what the Mayflower Compact is?
Yeah, that's like the history of like the United States being founded. You know, like remember like the Pilgrims came over. Like first it was
I know
Columbus
they came over, but
discovered
I
all
don't
the
remember
Americas,
the
discovered.
and I know the Mayflower, but I don't remember the Mayflower Compact.
It has something to do with like what them founding a settlement or something, which clearly you didn't include in these fun facts.
I should
But
have dived even more. Should have dove deeper.
Well, let's not dive deeper.
You
But
can't know everything.
let's actually move forward a little bit in history. So by the 18th and 19th centuries, Provincetown had developed into a thriving Portuguese fishing and whaling community. So that influence is still visible today in the town's culture, its food, and local traditions, which gives P-Town a really distinct identity compared to other New England destinations.
In the early 1900s, the town evolved again, this time into a major art colony. Artists, writers, and performers were drawn to its isolation and creative freedom, and it's still often described as one of the oldest continuous art colonies in the U.S.
And of course, that artistic energy really shaped what Provincetown became. By the 1920s and 30s, it had turned into a hub for both creatives and LGBT individuals, many of whom were involved in shaping early modern American theater and performance.
That's where it gives me the Sitges, Toledo's vibes. Even Ibiza, I think those were all like little gay
Exactly. They're like
enclaves
little
in the early
enclaves.
1900s.
They're kind of a little bit separated from like the bigger cities,
Yeah.
and they're artsy and creative. And,
Yeah,
of course, our
totally. I was
community
like,
fits right in.
Spain has exactly that. One of the most iconic places that reflects that history is the Atlantic House, also known as A House. It dates back to 1798 and is widely considered one of the oldest continuously operating gay bars in the U.S.
And then here's one of the more unusual bits of local history. There's an area called Long Point, where in the early 1800s, residents literally relocated their homes by floating them across the harbor on wooden barrels. And according to local stories, some people just carried on with daily life while their houses were drifting across the water.
I can't imagine what that's describing. Like they were floating them on wooden barrels, their houses.
To relocate them.
Just
Fascinating.
I read that in a few different places. Like, what?
Fascinating. Like, when did they just build in the right place to start?
Yeah, that one breaks my brain a little bit. And finally, Provincetown isn't just about history. It's also one of the best places in North America for whale watching. From roughly April through October, the waters just offshore are home to humpback, finback, and minke whales, making it a huge draw for visitors looking to experience wildlife up close.
So if you like our show, please subscribe to it on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Also, be sure to leave a 5-star review if you enjoy our episodes. Plus, if you're watching live on any social media platform, feel free to leave a comment or share this episode with your friends. And you can always follow us on social media. We're always at Two Bad Tourists.
We'll get right into the episode in just a second, but first, a quick shout out to our second sponsor, Detours. Life is not a straight line, and frankly, who would want it to be? Our friends over at the gay tour operator Detours are all about stepping off the beaten track when traveling. They provide the most exciting and immersive travel experiences without stifling the spontaneity of the adventurous spirit.
With over 10 years of experience under their belts, their itineraries showcase the best of any destination, from Spain to Greece to Japan to Peru. On a Detours trip, you can expect an authentic local experience wherever you choose, but also the flexibility to make your trip unique to you and your group, with passionate trip leaders always at the helm.
Their website is full of 5-star reviews, and here are just 2 of literally hundreds of similar comments from their past guests. Quote, "This is truly a company that executes these tours with passion, heart, and above all, that genuine Canadian warmth." And quote, "Detours does an exceptional job creating a fun and rewarding travel experience for a group of gay men."
We actually spoke to Miles and Daniel from Detours ourselves in season 5, episode 8 of Queer Travel Chat. So check out that episode for more details on one of our favorite gay trip organizers. To book a trip with detours, all you need to do is head to their website. The link, of course, is in the show notes. Also, be sure to check out their upcoming river cruise from Frankfurt to Basel and their 11 days in France adventure.
Okay, so let's get into Provincetown. This is, one place in the U.S. fully transforms into a queer paradise every summer. I imagine you went in the summertime when you were there.
I did, yeah. I think I went in June.
Yeah, so this tiny seaside town right at Cape Cod somehow becomes one of the most concentrated LGBTQ plus destinations in the country. I can't believe I haven't been. I need to go.
And when we say tiny, we really, really mean tiny. The year-round population is only about 3,000 people, which makes it even more impressive that it can host thousands and thousands of LGBTQ plus travelers every summer. And yet it still manages to feel intimate and welcoming rather than overwhelming.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like this massive city pride where you're lost in the crowd and it feels like you're just part of something. Like the entire town is one shared queer experience. Certainly, we know here in Madrid, the crowds are huge. I mean, it's like a million people in the city, and it's hard to even find your own friends in those crowds.
Yeah, I think what makes that feeling so strong is that Provincetown's queer roots go way back. This isn't just a place that just became trendy. It's been a haven for a long time, as we talked about in the fun facts.
Yeah, so as we mentioned at the top of the episode, it really started as an artist colony in the early 20th century. Painters, writers, performers, people who were already living outside societal norms were drawn there because it was a remote space and kind of free-spirited.
And naturally, that created space for LGBTQ plus people. And if you're already building a community of outsiders and creatives, it becomes a lot easier for queer people to exist openly.
So by the 1920s, already had this reputation as a place where you could be yourself, and that energy was carried through to today. It just looks different now. So instead of avant-garde painters, you've got drag performers, DJs, and queer artists still shaping the culture.
When people talk about Provincetown being a party destination, which of course it absolutely is, it's important to remember that it's built on this foundation of queer creativity and acceptance.
Did you get your party on when you were there?
I did, yeah. I was there for 3 nights. I went with a friend. I think you actually weren't able to come, so a friend Kyle went with me, and yeah, we definitely went out every night. I will say, however, PTown nightlife ends, I'd say, like relatively early, like actually by about 1 a.m. everything kind of closes and wraps up. So it's kind of nice. You're kind of forced to like go to bed early, and then you can wake up
like
the next
party
day.
gets started much earlier though too.
It
anyway.
does, which we'll talk about here in a minute.
Let's talk about what's going on in the summertime. So here are some of the events. The season basically runs from May through October, and there's always something happening those months.
It really kicks off in May with 2 back-to-back events focused on queer women and non-binary travelers. You've got Single Women's Weekend from May 15th through 17th in 2026, of course, of this year, followed immediately by Memorial Day Women's Weekend from May 21st through 25th.
And those weekends set the tone for the whole summer. Beach meetups, pool parties, social events. It's very community focused, but still super fun and high energy.
So just after, we roll into PTown Pride, which happens from June 5th to 7th. And this is one of those Pride celebrations that feels really authentic, like it hasn't been overly commercialized.
It's less about massive floats and more about the entire town celebrating together. One of the highlights is the Pride Rally at Town Hall, and then there's the Sachet to Tea, where everyone walks together to the tea dance. Just a whole crowd of queer people literally sashaying through the town to start the party. This sounds great. It's
I
right
love
up
it.
my
I love it.
alley.
Yes, I think I either went right before Pride or right after, so I didn't actually go during an event that I recall.
Oh, we're gonna have to do that.
But of course, right after Pride, you've got Frolic Weekend, which happens from June 17th through 22nd, which centers on queer men of color. It's 6 days of events, beach gatherings, nightlife, music, and it brings a really important and vibrant energy to the season.
And then as July arrives, things get even more intense. You've got the 4th of July celebrations on, of course, July 4th, which lean heavily into beach parties and circuit vibes.
And then immediately after that, one of the biggest events of the year, Bear Week from July 11th through 18th, which is exactly what it sounds like, a massive gathering of bears, cubs, otters, and admirers. It's known for being super friendly, very social, and honestly, just a really fun crowd.
Then later in July, you've got Family Week from July 25th to August 1st, 2026, which is actually one of the largest LGBTQ plus family events in the world. So it's not just about nightlife and parties the whole time. It's also about queer families and creating inclusive experiences for everyone.
And then we hit peak chaos in the best way with Carnival happening August 15th through 22nd. This is the big one. Costumes, performances, theme parties, and then the massive parade down Commercial Street, which is the main drag. The a whole town turns into this colorful, creative explosion during that event.
And finally, closing out the season is Trans Week from October 18th to 25th, 2026 this year, which is one of the longest running transgender gatherings anywhere in the world.
So really, no matter where you go during that window, you're walking into a fully formed event and community experience. And as you've heard, Provincetown really makes space for all the different subcultures, sub-communities of our vast LGBTQ plus community, which I love.
Yeah, and we're putting out the dates for 2026 when we're recording this, but these are annual events, so you can expect to see them every year. So just check them out if you're listening another year. Hopefully you are. So let's talk about where to stay. Do you remember where you stayed when you were there?
I did. I actually stayed at 3 different places. So I was there on kind of like a media visit. So I visited a few different places, which I'll comment on.
Okay, so it's one of those Provincetown is one of those rare places where nearly every hotel or guest house is not just LGBTQ plus friendly, but it's also very welcoming of the queer community.
But there are definitely a few standout spots. The Brass Key, which I did stay at, by the way, is one of the most popular. It feels like a social hub, more so than a hotel, actually. It has an interior courtyard with a pool, hot tub, and this daily wine and cheese happy hour where people actually meet and connect before heading out for the night. I did do all those things and it was fabulous.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was great.
So jealous.
And it's actually like quite big. When we say like gay guest house, you tend to think like small, like maybe 5 or 6 bedrooms, 10 max. No, this was quite bigger. I don't know exactly, but it had at least 20, 30, 40, 50 rooms.
Oh, wow,
something like that.
Yeah, that's great. Then there's the Boat Slip Resort, which is iconic because it hosts the tea dance. Staying there basically puts you in the center of everything.
And if you want something a bit quieter, Ravenwood is a great option. It's on the east end of Commercial Street, a little more relaxed, but still close to walk everywhere. And that's the thing, Provincetown is super walkable. You don't really need a car, which just makes the whole experience feel easier and more social. In fact, if you have a bike, which you can do, we'll talk about a little bit, that's a great way to get around and see some more of the
That is
nature
right up
areas.
my alley because I hate driving. So I would, rather be walking and biking everywhere anyway. Well, let's get into the nightlife that we have dabbled in a little bit because this is where Provincetown really earns its reputation. And everything revolves around Commercial Street. It's basically the spine of the town lined with bars, clubs, restaurants, and shops.
And the number one must do, we mentioned it before, the tea dance. Yes, tea dance happens every day from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Boat Slip. And it's essentially the official kickoff to the night, which is funny because it starts in the afternoon, right, at 4 p.m. But it feels like a full-on party with music, dancing, drinks, and everyone socializing.
This is what I miss about American culture is how like the party gets started during the day.
Yes.
Because everything's so late here in Spain. And I'm just like, I would rather enjoy the party during the day and then go to bed and then wake up the next day. Yeah, having slept. But here it's like you gotta stay out until 8 a.m. and the party doesn't get going till 2. You're like, Jesus Christ, that's right up my alley. Well, then speaking of going out at night, you've got places like the Atlantic House or A House, which is one of the oldest gay bars in the US, as we mentioned at the top of the episode. It has multiple levels and different vibes in each space. Crown and Anchor is another big one. It's basically an entertainment complex with multiple bars, performance spaces, and dance floors.
And then there's Shipwreck Lounge, which is more intimate and cozy, which is nice if you want to break from the bigger party energy. So you can really choose your vibe each night, whether it's dancing, cruising, or just having a drink and meeting people.
Speaking of parties,
let's talk a little bit about beyond parties. So as much as Provincetown is known for its nightlife, there's actually a lot to do during the day too. So yeah, the beaches are a huge part of it. Herring Cove is probably the most popular. It's beautiful, has amazing sunsets, and there's even a nudist section if you want to explore that side of things. And I did go there, and that's one that it's actually great to go by bike because it'd probably take a while to walk. You could probably take a taxi and things like that, but the bike is a really great way to do it.
Then there are the dunes, which are honestly kind of unexpected. These massive sand landscapes that you can explore by tour or just hiking. You can also climb the Pilgrim Monument for views over the entire town, go whale watching, like actual humpback whales, as I mentioned earlier, or rent bikes and explore the trails.
So I'm going to give more context to the dunes because I did a dunes tour and found it really interesting. They're not naturally occurring dunes. The reason they're dunes is because the forest was logged so heavily that it just completely destroyed the soil and then nothing can grow anymore.
That's depressing.
So it is depressing, but this is like the history, and that happened, I don't know if it was 100 or 200 years ago. So that's the reason why the dunes are there today.
Is there also cruising in the dunes?
I'm not sure. That part I don't know about. I don't recall because they're not like directly next to places that people are hanging out. So I'm not sure if cruising.
Leave a
happens there.
comment on this episode if you know if they're cruising in the dunes at PTown. Because I mean, Mas Palomas is really well known for another like gay haven that has cruising
like
in the
in
dunes.
Ibiza, there's like dunes kind of right.
Is there
behind
cruising in
Ibiza.
the dunes of Ibiza?
Yeah, I think so too.
There's
Maybe
cruising.
dunes.
There's no way there's not cruising. Leave us a comment if there's not cruising. Correct us.
In any case, back to the script. So honestly, even just walking along Commercial Street at sunset, grabbing ice creams or cocktails, people watching, that's just all part of the experience. So yeah, why do people keep coming back? So I think what really sets Provincetown apart, though, is a sense of community. Yeah, so people come for the parties, of course, but they come back because it feels welcoming, and it's one of those rare places where you can show up alone and still feel like you are belonging.
And it's not just one type of queer experience. It's diverse, multi-generational, and constantly evolving. So whether you're there for Pride, Bear Week, Carnival, or just some random summer weekend, you're stepping into something bigger than just a vacation.
Absolutely. So it's a shared space, and that's what makes Provincetown so special. Are you ready to book your trip, David?
Oh my God, I am sold. When are we going? Are we going?
Well, I mean, just speaking of returning, like I feel like, it's on my list to like get back to. In fact, we had talked about doing a Friends reunion. With the Friends reunion we did in Vegas in December, like this little group we've talked about actually doing in Provincetown at some point. So maybe that'll be our
that's like the
trip
perfect
together.
spot because we also did a Friends reunion previously before Vegas in Sitges and had a great time in like the
Exactly.
P-town of Spain. So we
Yes.
should do the P-town of the US. It's right up our alley.
Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope you learned a lot about P-town, and hopefully you are interested in
Hopefully you're
traveling there.
inspired like we are. If you like the show, please subscribe to it on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Be sure to leave a 5-star review if you enjoy listening to our episodes. If you're watching live on any social media platform, feel free to leave us a comment or share the episode with your friends. You can follow us on social media. We're always at 2Bed Tourists. And lastly, feel free to leave us a comment about what you want to hear more of. We are always trying to come up with new ideas and listen to what people want to know.
So what is up for the next episode? I'll give you a little sneak peek. We are doing an episode on Key West, which we've been to a few times, quite a few times actually.
Love Key West.
I
Yeah,
love
it's
Key West, so
great.
we're going to be talking all about that destination. But in particular, we're going to be speaking about Island House, which is a gay guest house in Key West, which is celebrating 50 years. It's actually the
Is
longest.
that where we stayed last time?
That's where we stayed last time. So it is the longest running gay guest house in the history of the planet. I believe that's continuously running.